Cool. Thank you.
MSG. Alongside Martin Biron, Dan Dunleavy, Rob Ray, I'm Brian Duff. It's great to have you along as we are 1-1 in period number 3 of game 1 of the 99 final, guys, and we're getting ready to bring in a whole bunch of alumni to further the discussion over the next hour. What are we thinking, Marty, as we've seen so far tonight? Buffalo survived a rather massive run of penalties, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, a massive run of penalties, and now I think Verrata was almost dead in front of the net. There's about 7 minutes left, and he was taken down, and
I think
he looked like he was motionless.
Razor, you once said Verrata had some of the worst breath you'd ever been around. Do you think he might have been felled by something worse than that here?
Well, V didn't have to hit you. He just, like I said, breathe on you, and he would knock you down in most cases. But you know what? Even watching the last game the last 2 games against Toronto, we were playing a pretty aggressive style, and we did run into some penalty trouble. But you know, I think on our team, we knew that our penalty kill was good. We knew that, you know, throughout that playoffs, they had done a pretty good job. So you could play a little more aggressive and get away with it. Sometimes we took it a little too far, guys, shot yourself in the foot a couple times, but never lost that composure in those situations. So I think that was big for them.
Yeah, and Danny, you're watching along too. The Dominator has been exceptional so far tonight, as we've come to expect.
Yeah, I might be a little bit ahead of you here because obviously up in Canada, I can't get the same feed you're watching there, but I found a feed online here. So I've actually already had the goal here that you're probably waiting for, and I'm a little bit ahead of you, but it's not like nobody knows what's coming.
Isn't that funny though, Dan? You're in Canada and you're watching it on a American feed. We're in the US watching it on a Canadian feed. That's how the world is these days. Up is down, left is right. It's all over.
And we probably have like a dual citizen in Rhett Warrener joining the mix, right, Rhett? Pretty much.
They turned me down. Did my lawyer? I was at the meeting in Buffalo, and the lawyer, he does it all the time. So I went to the interview, did it all, and the lady said, "Not giving you your citizenship." And my lawyer, he lost it.
They must have hung around you downtown too much when you were playing here, so they knew what you're like, and they didn't want to let another problem in.
Maybe I knew some of her friends. I don't know.
We're looking for a hero. We might have just found one as the Sabres have taken a 2-1 lead in the third, but as we all know, it's going to take more than that. So why not bring Jason Woolley into the mix? Hi, Jace. How are you?
Hey, guys. How are you? Hi, Duffer.
Doing well. Doing well. You're continuing to lead the team in scoring at this point.
Yeah, I see that. This has been fun. It's been it's fun goofing around with this. Retsky, how you doing, pal?
I'm awesome, Wills. How are you?
Doing great, brother. You got the playoff beard going. Atta boy.
A little more gray in it now, that's all.
Yeah. Wills, I failed you this morning. Duffer asked me for our pregame or preview show, who is the all-time leading defenseman in points in the playoffs for the Sabres, and I said Alexei Zetnik, and it was you. So I'm sorry, my man. I failed you. I should have said Jason Woolley. He's the man.
No, I actually watched it, and it was a tough question. It could go either way, right? I liked your reasoning. Z was there longer, so it made sense.
But nobody's been there longer than Schmelik, right, Marty?
That's right. He's played a lot of playoff hockey for the Sabres. But, hey, you talk about playoff beard. How about this guy, Curtis Brown? That is a mean-looking playoff beard, Brownie. How you doing?
Waiting to get let out.
Brown, no,
you've been let out.
This is
there's my roomie.
Anything's entertaining during this shelter in place. I'll even hang with this group of knuckleheads for a few hours.
Must be desperate, eh?
Brownie, nobody ever stopped you before. Why have you changed like this?
I apologize.
Yeah.
You're so Canadian. Donnie Lever is... Donnie, how are you?
Nothing wrong with that, Duffer.
I had to get my two daughters to get me on this thing.
Well, we needed
Looks
some,
like you're running the power play.
Oh, I controlled the penalty kill during that playoff.
that's probably why we're not airing game 2.
Well, you had your work cut out because these guys took a lot of stupid penalties along the way that put us in bad situations, Cleve.
Yeah, well, the first game, definitely, we were in the penalty box quite a bit. But we had that guy between the pipes that just had a knack of stopping 60, 70 shots.
Gotta play to your strengths, Leaves. Gotta play to your strengths.
Right.
Hey, Donnie, I asked Marty this morning, on nights like this, when you go to the box 10 times, who's most likely to kind of lose their mind on the bench from a player or coach's standpoint? Who would you say gets rattled most in situations like that?
I don't think anyone did. Everyone was so focused that it was just like, well, let's just do this. We're kind of in a zone. And winning the Toronto series just seemed to turn this whole team around. They were just so confident,
Mm-hmm.
I said Rammer would have lost his mind.
I would say Rammer too. You had to have some great meetings in the back room with Rammer time to time.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Like he was wound up like a top all the time.
Yeah, well, that's why we put on a 5-mile run every morning.
Let off some steam, Leaves?
Yeah. That's what I remember most is that the heat when we got there and the first couple waiting for the team bus and everybody was soaking wet from sweat going to a morning skate.
How much did you guys skate in the playoffs and then more specifically in the final?
I skated a lot. I skated every day. I skated probably for 2 hours a day, down and backs over. I was probably one of the best conditioned players on that team at that point. There's still a lot left in the tank.
Yeah, we've all been there. That's for sure.
You
We've
know
all
what?
been there.
I know our guys didn't skate much, but the extra guys, the guys that weren't in the game that night, or the guys that were called up from Rochester were around. That it was tough, Cleve? You guys were a part of that, and you put us through our paces all the time because you had to make sure the guys were ready. That because there was a lot of changes in the lineup, throughout the whole playoffs, so you just never knew.
Oh, you're right. But everybody was on board. You guys knew the reason why we were doing it, and even though it wasn't fun, everybody had to be ready. But everybody was kind of on the same page, so kind of made it easier.
Well, here, let's go back to the last round since we're talking about something like this. And Razor came in game 4. When did you come in, Razor?
Of what series?
Game 4 against Toronto when you scored the winner, right?
Oh, jeez.
But Primo had been hurt at the end of the previous game. So without that happening, do you get in or not? Because I'm sitting there thinking, regardless of the injury, just the way the series was trending and the way Toronto was kind of pushing with Domi and others with the way game 3 ended. Do you know, Razor, if you would have got in, whether Wayne got hurt?
I'm not really sure, but I think that along the way that you watch those games, if you watch them close, they're pretty physical, especially off the start. The first period, it seemed like we were always very physical. And I think more than anything, when we went into those, it was kind of just go calm things down. You would play a little more in the first period, calm it down, and then it allowed the guys to play. So, yeah, who knows, when you would have got the call, but it was the right call at the right time. I'll give Lindy a lot of credit for that.
Donnie, you obviously, you were just talking about the changes. What happened to Grosek on the first shift of this game 1 in Dallas? He was done. That was it. One shift in the series, and it was over.
Oh, Michael was a different person.
We'll start with that.
You're going to have to ask Lindy on that one because I was at the other end, right behind Jason, yelling in his ear all the time.
I don't even know what happened. I don't remember.
Just became there was so many penalties, and it just became a special teams type of game. So, and you couldn't get the fourth line involved. Really, it was kill 'em penalties or you're on the power play.
We've got a D pair together. Hi, Jay. Oh, you're muted there, buddy. How are you, Jay?
Doing all right.
Say hello to the crew.
Good to see all you ugly mutts again.
There's a good looking guy.
What's going on, Retro? Hey, did I hear Don Lever saying he was yelling?
No.
Not at all.
That's weird.
Oh,
That's weird, eh,
I don't
Cheese?
know how Rhett or I ever play with confidence with how much you yelled at us. That's why Rhett couldn't pass me the puck.
Oh God, here we go again.
Rhett was the only one that really understood me.
Rhett, I think she's wearing your pajamas there. Huh?
Yeah, that's my. Gonna get
You know what,
Jay,
but it-
Jay, I saw Rhett make a tape-to-tape pass to you earlier in the game.
I saw it too,
How did
Marty.
you feel about that?
Did I bobble it? I wasn't used to those.
You're on the wrong side of the red line, but you still tried to dump it in.
Yeah, no, I'm up in Canada right now, so I can't see the games, unfortunately. So I'll take your word for it.
You know what? I'll ask Brownie that question. Now you got Wolves, Retro, and McKee on the call. As a forward, who were you saying, oh no, they have the puck, there's no way it's coming to my stick? And who were you confident you were going to get it in stride and not have to like be worried about getting a suicide pass?
Saskers, Brownie. Saskers.
Oh, here we go.
I got to set up a PayPal account and see who sends the most cash.
Hey, but hey, you got to remember, Brownie and I were carpooling all the time, and me, Brownie, Pex, and Wolves were playing. Was it the Game of Life? Remember back in the day?
Yeah.
Game of life.
Hey, he might be on my side. I don't know.
You know, spoken like a true goalie, Martin. You want to be divisive. We're going to stick together. Obviously, we were probably killing penalties if I was with Warnsey and McKee. So they were supposed to just ice it, which they did. And Wolves would have probably did the best tape to tape because I would have snuck out there on the power play. So we had a little more time to make plays.
Good.
Yeah, but Wolves wasn't really the tape-to-tape guy. He was the big flipper up through the middle and just allowed the guys the forwards to crisscross and try to find it without getting killed.
I don't know if now's the time to bring it up, but Wolves have has the tail of your practice outfit ever made it to one of these things?
No. It will now.
It has to now.
I tell you what, for those that didn't tune in until now, this is one of the wildest things I've ever heard, even more than some of those border patrol rumors. I don't know if those happened or not, but Wolves didn't block shots. I'll just say Wolves didn't block shots in practice.
No, I don't know what you're talking about, Brownie. It's actually, I don't know what Brownie's talking about. Brownie, what are you talking about?
Come on.
Which one is that? There's so many freaking stories.
Well, Wolves didn't kill penalties because he forgot some of his equipment in the locker room.
Ah.
No, that's not the only reason why I didn't kill penalties. Leaves was conserving me.
He wanted to keep you fresh for the power play.
Absolutely.
Well, how many points did he get?
See that, a boy,
Keep it
Donnie.
fresh.
See, Coach knew what he was doing.
So,
There's a lot of nice pieces to the puzzle on that team. We've been watching a lot of these games. I was telling Razor earlier today how much speed we had up front. Brownie had that beauty backhand goal against Toronto in Game 5. There, it was unbelievable.
Oh.
Just
1-on-3.
yeah, he just blew by it. And
Could you ever do that again, Brownie, or was that a once in a lifetime thing? Was that a Mayday goal? Just once and then you never saw it again?
Yeah, one and done, baby.
yeah, he did that a whole bunch of times.
Overtime
did that a
versus
lot.
Philly, 2001.
I tell you what, the legs don't go quite as fast anymore. They hurt when I try to get them up to speed. I'm at a coach's pace.
I played at a coach's pace. I had to slow the game down so my mind could stay at the same pace as my feet. So you didn't try to do too much.
that's an insult to coaches, Razor. Coaches right there. Donnie, don't take that.
Three
Hey,
on
boys.
three. Razor was one of the best 3-on-3 players.
Dallas scored to make it 2-2, and it looked like Dom tried to go and play the puck, and then Pex tried to shoot the puck around the wall, but his stick got stuck in the board, so he broke his stick, lost his stick. So I guess a question I have for you, defenseman, how good of a puck playing goaltender was Dominic Hasek?
Awful.
He wasn't. He wasn't.
Stop the puck, stay in the net and stop the puck.
I'll tell you what, when Dom got running around, it's because he was bored. If he was in a game, he was getting shots, he stayed in his crease. If he was bored back there and he wasn't getting much work, then he thought he had to get more involved in the game. He'd get out and he'd start playing as that third defenseman. And that's when Lindy and guys, the coaches, would go nuts because it'd be like, get in the net. You could just hear them screaming because you could just see him going out. He wanted to try to do so much. And he didn't have the strength actually to fire the puck anywhere. It was just kind of always pushed in an area.
Well, I don't remember the coaches going crazy, but I used to have to wear earplugs sitting next to Razor because you gave him an earful every time he left the crease.
Well, because they're always leaning over. Tell him. Cleve would always say, tell that little bastard or tell somebody to do this and do that because he didn't have the guts to do it himself. So it's like, okay, hey, Cleve says, no, tell Cleve to shut up. Cleve, shut up. No, you tell him to kiss my. And that's the conversations you'd have sometimes.
Well, Donnie, you were
Wouldn't
just
see that
walking
in
off the
modern
bench.
hockey, right, Razor?
Pardon me?
You wouldn't hear that in modern day times.
No, I appreciate it. Seriously, I appreciate it. There's nights you can stand down there now. There's not a word said out there. So it was nice because it kept it entertaining a lot too.
Well, Donnie, you were just walking off the bench there at the end of regulation after giving up that tying goal in the last minute, talking to Lindy. My guess, based on what you were saying earlier and how you came through the Toronto series, that even a late goal like that against Dallas wasn't going to rattle your group too much?
Well, I think we're a bit flustered, but being on the road, the first game, I think I can remember I said, if we're going to win a game, it's going to be game one. You're going to win one on the road. It's going to be game one. And they had way more chances to win the thing than we did. And I think the longer it went, the better it was for us. And we just got more relaxed and relaxed. It wasn't a matter of a coach getting your team up to play. It was keeping them settled down because with the press, with everything else, everybody was ready to play.
Mm-hmm.
We were too hyped at times.
Yeah, that might explain what we were talking earlier, the number of penalties you often took in the first game of a series in that run. The rest of you guys, what do you remember about that first game and just getting ready for the overtime just after the way 60 minutes had gone by?
Cheese, you're up.
You know what? It's hard to remember specific moments like that. I think in game one, I think every playoff round, game one brings a new level of, that nervousness, that game one nervousness. And, you feel it in your first preseason game. You feel it in your first regular season game. You feel it in game one of the playoffs. And then as each round goes on, I think that first period, you really, you're feeling each other out, the teams. And, I think after the first period, you calm down a little bit. You go in, you talk about, coaches will talk about what we need to do, what they saw, and how we can be a little bit better, or what we can expose. And so I think as a player, you go in after the first period of every first game of a playoff round, and you just kind of settle in and you get back to your game, whether you're playing well or not. You just kind of settle in and you get back to playing hockey.
Hey guys, there's a question on Facebook here because we're live on Facebook, by the way. So unless you didn't know, Mark wants to know what was it like during the playoffs, and I personally want to know, like between the conference finals and the Stanley Cup finals, what was it like? Because you guys waited like 5-6 days, right? You beat Toronto in 5, Colorado and Dallas were still going. So what was it like having to deal with the emotional roller coaster of what the finals was and the playoffs in '99?
I was so bored, Marty. I drove around in Joey Juno's sidecar
That's right.
every day for like 3 hours just to do something. Stuck in a hotel room. So bored.
So for those who don't know, Joe Juno had a motorcycle and a sidecar attached to it, and Retro would have the helmet and the goggles on and just ride alongside with him.
No music, nothing.
Do we have any video of that or pictures of that? I'd like to see that.
I don't. I saw enough of it.
You
We saw
don't.
Clarence
Yeah.
and Squirmville and all of Amherst and Lockport. We just cruised.
Hey, Rhett, what round did you put together that pregame video that you played that Lindy ended up playing? Remember that little pregame video?
I don't remember. No,
Remember what round that was?
no.
No? Okay.
Retro, when was it when you got off the plane, you ran around the plane nude and got back on it again?
That was
during
not in the playoff series, Rob. That was
Oh, okay.
years later in New York.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
This
he
is
didn't need
small-
he didn't need playoffs to do that.
just a small airport, little small runway.
I'll try to save this program. Or the characters involved. I'll try to be the voice of reason. You know, during the playoffs, the toughest time was the time in between the games. We had things rolling pretty good, and I think everybody's confidence was so high that ultimately the nerves only got to you or when you thought about it, and that was in between the games. When the game started, it was quite natural. We had a great group of guys. Everybody really knew what their role was. I thought the coaches had us prepared as they possibly could. And as Donnie said, it was more about settling us down and we were a young group. So energy was not a problem. I think for Dallas, their problem was the longer this thing went, they would start to lose energy when we really never felt tired. It was, we thought we could skate forever. And, you know, in between the games was probably the most difficult. We just couldn't wait for the puck to drop.
Another thing that Brownie, you played out west and some guys, when you've played out west and gone through a playoff series and you've played in the East, the difference in the travel and how much it takes out of you is a huge difference. True. I mean, you're traveling up to Toronto, it's an hour by bus. It's not a big deal. Dallas is flying all over the West Coast. It's way tougher on the body out west than it is on the East side.
Yeah, and they had a heck of a series against Colorado. They were down 3-2 after a 7-5 loss, and you're thinking, holy cow. I mean, the way Belfort been going, that's a massive number to put up, but then they came back and they won 4-1 in each of the last 2 games. And as we saw even the following year, I mean, Dallas was a whisker away from perhaps winning again. So obviously they were, you know, well conditioned and ready for this despite all the travels your time. Rhett, you were in a final before you got to this spot. How much did that help you going into it?
I learned from Wolves in that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was my rookie year. I was so young, I didn't know anything, right? You're just doing it. You're hardly thinking about it. I mean, you did get nervous and this and that, but it was almost like the unknown. So you just went with it. Okay, well, this is how we go. This is how we play. This is what we do. It was such slow hockey too. We just locked down everything. Trap. We didn't even try to get into the offensive zone unless it was a power play and Wolves had the puck. So it was different for sure the second time going because you knew how hard it was going to have to be and kind of the effort that it was going to take. Whereas the first year I went, honestly, you just did it and you didn't think much about it. So I don't know if that answers your question or explains it well, but the Buffalo series was more, I felt more engaged with that team, I guess.
Right.
Not that you weren't part of the Panthers team, but you felt more engaged in more of maybe a leadership role, I guess.
Well, you also validated Pittsburgh's complaints back in '96.
Well, I want to know, Rhett, who is that guy that you covered in the Pittsburgh series? You kept telling me there's a picture of you with a big Pittsburgh Penguins guys, maybe a Hall of Famer or somebody. Who's that guy you covered and you didn't let him get too much success?
Well, he was the owner, I think, of the team now.
Yeah, that's right.
I did let him loose once in a Buffalo series, though, that kind of turned around and bit me in the butt. Remember that one, Brownie?
Yeah, I got an assist on that one.
How was it? Was that the hand of Mario goal?
Yeah.
When he caught it out of midair?
Yeah, I'm staring at Dom and the puck's landing on the most dangerous guy in the world's stick. So I'm right beside him.
I blocked the shot and nobody knew where it went. It went way up in the sky. And of course, it's probably not the first time Mario was the only guy in the building to know what was going to happen next. So I guess we rest in that, Warner. Like, Warnsy, what do you do?
In that, hey, Retsky, in that Florida series against Pitt, I only played power play. So I would sit on that bench, and I actually believe that I'm the first guy to ever go out and skate around during the whistles, like camera timeouts. My legs were so dead, I'd go 7 or 8 minutes without playing. And then I got to go out against Lemieux and Francis or Lemieux and Yager on the PK while we're on special teams. And I mean, it's just crazy. But I'll tell you what, it prepared me a lot for, I agree with Rhett in a way that Florida series was kind of, even for me, I was younger too. And it kind of was like a blur. I was a big part of it. It was a very close team, but I wasn't an every minute player. I didn't play more than probably 8 or 9 minutes a game. Buffalo was the closest team I've been on. What Brownie said was so spot on. I just love the fact that I didn't think we ever got tired. Once again, our conditioning, I know we freaking hated it as the year went on, but we were in awesome condition. We were plug and play. As soon as somebody went down, in came, D went down, in came Shands, and Razor, he said the one game he didn't even play a shift. And we just didn't care who got the credit. We just wanted to keep rolling and winning every game. And it was a fun team to be part of. We were so darn close. It's so darn close in many ways, right?
You remember when Shanny was inserted into the playoffs that year and he hadn't played the whole playoffs?
Played game one.
He was so dehydrated, they were pumping fluids into his body, like the saline into his, squeezing the bags, trying to get it into his system because he was passing out.
Shands was skating up the ice. This happened twice in the game. He played game one of the playoffs. I think it was game one, and then not a game again until the last game.
Game 6 against Dallas, yeah.
Yeah, game 6. And then he's skating up the ice, real long, and his one leg just got stiff and wouldn't move. So he's skating off the ice on one leg. He gets to the bench. They take care of him a little bit. A few shifts later, coming back to the bench like this again, sideways. It was classic.
Hey, Rhett, what happened to you with Hatcher at the end of, what was it, at the end of game 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, last year.
The series.
Well, it's Leaves' fault. He wouldn't stick up for
It was Ramsey's fault.
We just blame who's not on the call.
Yeah. I can
don't
still
know.
remember Rammer going, drop him. No, don't.
He pulled Zhitnik off the ice to put me on, and I'm all of a sudden, I don't know how I decided I was a tough guy and I was going to deal with Hatcher, but it's a poor decision on my part. And I tried to fight him, and we didn't even I don't even know if I got the gloves off. He pushed me and my leg snapped, and I knew right away. Scampy fell on top of me, the linesman, and I was like, Scampy, you got to help me off. My legs broke. Like I was like, it was twisted up pretty good. So
Bit of the Buffalo curse right there.
made for a long, yeah. You got that a couple years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Donnie, for all you guys to know, Hollywood, Jeff Holbrook is watching, and he doesn't remember, or I don't know if he remembers the video session that Rhett apparently put together. But so Hollywood says that he remembers the other team's coaches saying that they come at us in waves, not much difference between the first, second, third, and fourth line, which makes the matchup tough. Do you guys take an advantage of knowing that it didn't matter if it was Brownie's line or, Peck's line, everybody was going out there and getting the job done? Was that a big part of your strategy as coaches?
We didn't have any strategy, Marty. No,
Video back then.
like I think Rhett said earlier, we had Jay and Rhett and Z and Schmelly kind of shutting down their top 2 lines. And then we're filling in. So, and like we were a counter team. We had the greatest goaltender in the world, and we wanted to shut their top 2 lines down, and that's where we went from. And I think there was only one game where there's more than 3 goals. I mean, it was 2-1, 3-2, or there were 4-2 game. It was an empty net goal, so it became a defensive series, really. And we had to shut their power play down. Our penalty killing was awesome. So it's like, it gave us a chance. And then Rhett fought Hatcher and goodbye.
And then came Shanny with his stiff leg.
Is cramping, yeah. You know what I noticed too, though, Brownie, is as one of the guys that played a lot on the forward, there was no East-West game when you're watching these games, man. As soon as we gained control of the puck, you guys were gone. You were gone up the ice and you were attacking. Whether it was on the forecheck or when you had possession of the puck, there was no waste of time, waste of energy going side to side.
Yeah, no, I think, and was it Hollywood that made the statement of a lot of similarities in the lines? And that's why we were so interchangeable, is we really did play the same. Is we got the puck and as Donnie said, we wanted to go as quick as we could the other way and capitalize on, you know, some of the good defensive plays or a big save that Dom made. And quite frankly, throughout this playoff series and season, it was unbelievable to see the will come out of the opposition in terms of their ability to score, because we defended hard as a group. We tried to do whatever we could, but when we got that puck, it was on us to try to turn and burn, and we did a good job. If you think of the guys that had some pretty good success that playoff season, there was nothing fancy about it. As we already talked about, it was trying to use speed and attack, and whether it was a rebound goal line around, we went hard to the net. That was something that the coaches expected out of us. And yeah, we didn't play on the perimeter very much, or east-west, as Razor said.
We weren't able to get a straight answer from anybody earlier, but what happened on the bus ride from Toronto after Game 5?
Well, it's only
Oh my God.
like an hour and 15 drive, but the border was pretty tight, so we couldn't get through.
There was a delay at customs.
You have to ask the customs.
All I know is I didn't
get
look.
caught up. We had a lot of Europeans that their paperwork wasn't up to speed.
That's right. All I know is I had a custom suit made from Sammy Abison in Edmonton for about $3,000. And I left my jacket in the upper part and couldn't get it back. So that bottom was no freaking good. Pissed me off.
I heard you mention that story, Wills. So what color was this suit that you were wearing? What made it so special?
I don't. It's not that it was so special. It's the fact that I was overserved on the bus, I think. I think it was the coaches.
Hey, you know what? We do talk about that bus ride, and probably the most amazing thing is Dom's performance at the border when we did get there. But when you sit and talk to a lot of the guys, they're like, the time we had when everybody was there, you know, telling stories about it, calling families, all that kind of thing. It was like that 2 hours that we it sunk in and go, we actually just accomplished something here. Like, it was something special, and it was no, you know, hacky muck. We didn't get lucky. We did it, and we did it in a convincing fashion.
Nothing better than doing it in Toronto too.
And at Rudy's.
Well, I always felt, I remember coming back on the bus ride, how happy Lindy Leaves and Rammer were. Like, I was telling Razor earlier, like, I just felt there wasn't a coaching staff and then there were players. I just felt like we were all on the same page all the time. And that was so important for us. And they did a good job of letting Curtis Brown be Curtis Brown and Jay McKee be Jay McKee, and all the way down the board. They didn't, you know, just let them play the way they played. You know, some of us had to dial it back, me being one of them. I think, you know, guys that play a little bit more riverboat, we all tightened it up because we were so accountable for each other. Listen, I was up and down the ice. You guys know, I mean, I was riverboating a lot of times in a little bit of a hybrid, but come playoff time, you know, you can't be leaning on Dom for playing all these 2-on-1s and playing all these odd man rushes. So it was just about, you know, everybody playing their role. We had a lot of clarity on our roles. We knew what we needed to do. We got guys like Miro. Miro's our 40-goal scorer, but he missed a whole boatload of games, and guys just stepped in and did the job. And, you know, we had Razor's point. We went north and south a lot. We had a ton of speed. I didn't realize we had that much speed till I've been watching all these clips with Sandy and Brownie and Zinger and Rass. And then we had nobody scared to go to the net. So, I mean, it was easy for us D, just get pucks to the net.
And you know what, too, when you're talking about the coaches allowing the players to be what kind of a player they were? As a team, we allowed the guys to be the type of person they were as well. You know, we talk a lot about Dom. We give him a hard time, Groshi, and these kind of guys. There was a lot of guys that walked to their own beat, but it was no big deal. Everybody, when that time came, you came together. There was no judging of each other.
No,
in that
100%.
room. And everybody was able to be who they were and wanted to be.
Well, and you had a
I think Brownie's a
I like that
great
point. Sorry, I just want to, it's Dan here. I just want to jump in. I like the point about how in the most important games of your careers, and it was just mentioned there that the game actually becomes as intense and as drained as you are, as intense as the game is. You know, I'm watching Modano come down the wing. I'm watching how you're just channeling to the boards, take them out against the end glass. It's almost as if the game becomes, I don't want to say easy to play, but you've simplified the game, whereas there's just no other play for you to make other than to keep that player where you want him to go. And I think that's a great insight to the game, the people to watch, because you're dealing with emotions. You're in the Stanley Cup Finals, but at the end of the day, you know that you can't really afford guys to play outside that box. I mean, you have no other choice than to play a certain player this one way. Otherwise, you're going to have help, I know, or you're hoping there's going to be help, but you can't start, as you're talking about, taking chances in these situations. You basically simplify things and look, he's going nowhere. He's eating end boards. He's eating glass. I'm going to tie him up and that's it.
Well, I think from my observation, maybe it's accurate, maybe it's not, but you're talking to a group of guys and a team that it was really blue collar. So we weren't scared of the defensive side of the puck. We weren't scared to block shots. We weren't scared to take the body. And that might be, especially in those days, a little bit non-traditional, because you look at the Dallases, you look at the Colorados, you look at these other teams, Toronto even, like they got to where they got because they had some firepower, and guys were able to kind of get loose and do their thing and maybe do the East-West Razor was talking about. If you look at our makeup, that wasn't us. So we weren't going to all of a sudden get to the finals and say, well, now all of a sudden we're going to get fancy, because we weren't fancy. We were a hardworking team that we knew our job, we knew our role, and we were interchangeable. And I think the biggest key about that team for many years was nobody was looking for the credit, because we knew that Dom deserved and got all the credit. The rest of us were just there to help each other out and be super accountable, which is obviously why we did what we were able to do.
All right, for the three defensemen who are on here, Marty, are you watching what I just saw?
Didn't Zubov get clipped in the face?
You're killing a penalty in overtime. Schmelik's behind the net. He gives a high, hard one around the glass. Zubov's trying to keep it in at the point. It takes a skip off the dasher, hits him right in the face, wipes him out, and they have to blow the whistle. Have you guys ever been
are way
like
back
that?
there.
Right
You're
there.
way back there, and I got to rewind this game.
Oh my God.
Ouch.
I mean, Zubov's a skilled guy. That's something I've never seen.
That's what you get for being on the power play. You don't want to be on the power play. It's dangerous.
That's right.
Duffer, I missed it. Who took the penalty? Was it Cheese?
It was
Zitnik for
Zitnik.
hooking.
Yeah,
And then he fired the puck
You'd
into
probably
the
score if I
stands,
took it.
and he never got a penalty for that. Like, he just turned and fired it straight in the stands. He should have got a delay of game or something as well.
Well, I don't think there was delaying games back then, was there? In '99?
No, but after
No.
the play, when you can't fire it up over the glass.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys, I know we're talking about the 99 playoffs, but you all remember Game 7 against Pittsburgh, the game after the Mario tying the game in late in the third period and the overtime struck. You guys remember Kasparaitis grabbing the puck and throwing it in the crowd in the third period, like not shooting it in the crowd. He tossed it in the crowd with his hands and didn't get a penalty.
Playoffs?
Hey?
What year are you talking there?
So that is
2001.
2001 playoffs?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think I remember that, because that's when I knocked myself out by running into Mario.
I think that was it.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was Game 7, 2001. You're right. And I mean, these are all things that were in the rule book and could have been called, but refs refused to call it, which is why they eventually forced their hand and took away the discretion, if you will. So, you know, it's funny what comes around. But
the few times, Duffer, it's happened here and you watch it in the playoffs, it's not a big deal. So if all of a sudden now you're assessing another 2 to that, it's changing the situation big time.
oh yeah,
And, you know, to a severity that it really doesn't need to happen. I don't know.
yeah. Well, what it did was also try to put the skill in the game of, you know, keeping it in play. And, you know, we don't see it a ton, but it can still obviously happen at you know, less than ideal circumstances in a game. But it's like anything, the rules get tweaked because of, you know, people pushing the envelope perhaps a little bit too far.
Yeah, we're getting distracted right now because who is it? Jeff Sanderson just boarded Matvichuk, hit him from behind. So that's going to be another penalty. Like, it just leaves.
I think this is the
you have to
10th one in
take
the
care and like take control of those guys. Too many penalties.
Sandy had been pent up too long. He wanted to get out of the corral.
You know what?
He had one speed, just one speed only.
Yeah.
It was go, 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 go. And it was.
Hey, Brownie, who had the best? Who had the best beard back then? Who had the best playoff beard? Was it
On our
Ras?
team?
Was it Ras?
Ras is right here.
The old Viking.
Love it.
We weren't very old. Growing beards back then definitely wasn't a strong point.
Hey, Brownie, what was the code word at the hotel in Dallas
I can't remember.
when they had to phone in? If you had to phone in to talk to any of us, it was a Joe Juno.
Oh,
You guys,
Yeah, that was Grasshopper.
grasshopper.
Duffer.
Yeah.
Kind of what that was, to tell the people that if somebody called the hotel, because not everybody had cell phones back then, if you call the hotel to try to get a hold of one of the guys at the desk, they would ask what the code was, so they would put you through to prevent people from calling the guys. Because you used to go to hotels in a lot of towns and you get phone calls all day long. Your phone would be ringing off the hook. You know, a fan calling, you suck, we're gonna kill you tonight, blah blah blah. So to try to prevent that, you had the code word to keep those phone calls under control.
Joey, it was kind of like that show Kung Fu, right? Wasn't that?
Yeah, Kung Fu. Grasshopper, you can leave now.
You guys remember that hotel in Dallas, though, the Crescent Court Hotel?
We still stay there, Marty.
You guys still stay there? So I remember we went. So I was at Black Ace for Game 5 when we went back to Dallas, and the dentist got to check in. So Dan Houston and his group got to check in, and there was no rooms for them. So the only thing left in the whole hotel was a 4,000 square foot suite. So you have the team dentist and the oral surgeon who are staying in a 4,000 square feet like suite in this gorgeous hotel. It was pretty cool.
Houston paid for that from Me Prime Aerospace.
I was gonna say, Danny, you really earned that.
We won't go there.
No. Where is it at in the game right now, Marty?
We're just killing the 10th penalty right now, the second in overtime. And realistically, they really aren't getting great chances. They're just Schmelly's back there just being the horse, and Peck's up front, and Z, they're keeping everything outside, not getting much chance.
Well, how bad was the ice in Dallas? It was so hot. I mean, you're in June now in Texas. The ice had to be awful in overtime.
It was June 8th, 1999. My birthday was this game.
That was probably a good thing considering we had so many penalties.
Yeah, we didn't have all those things either, Marty, where, you know, all the ice was scraped up and they had all those cleanup opportunities. We just fought through it, from what I can remember.
There wasn't. I know Buffalo brought in these huge dehumidifiers right through the Zamboni doors to try to get the humidity out the building. But I mean, June in Texas, it is 95 outside with 100% humidity. Sure, inside you guys had to be wringing your shirts in between periods and changing gloves all the time. It had to be hot.
When Wolves scored, I can remember just before that, I was like, give me a bag of ice. And I had it on top of my head, my helmet off, and a bag of ice on top of my head and on my neck. It was so hot in there. It was brutal. and I was out of shape, so it wasn't good.
Maybe you
Tough
should have
time to
been
be out of
running
shape.
next to the sidecar in between the series rather than
Rhett, how could you be out of shape at that time of year?
Genetics. I'll blame it on genetics. Certainly wasn't my diet or my off ice activities.
Committed
Oh,
off
gosh.
season.
I got a great
So the
question here
nicknames-
for fan guys. What is everyone's favorite memory as a Sabre? Or you can go around the horn, whatnot, but what's your favorite memory as a Sabre?
Toronto.
I'd have to say mine is probably beating Toronto and going to the finals.
Yep, same here.
I had family in Toronto. My aunt or my uncle and cousins and everyone was there, and winning that game, absolutely. I remember when did we score an empty netter? Yeah, and
Yeah,
Dom
Dixon.
got it out, and that was beating the lords of the game. Was nice to do it in their home rink.
I was happy when Don Lever moved on. I'm just, I love you, Donnie. Yeah, I'd have to go there too. You know, I remember Kiss 98.5 playing on the radio. You know, highlights of Art. You know, Rick Jenneret talking and hearing them say the Sabres are going on to the Stanley. Put it to a montage, and I'll never forget it. You know, that was yeah, that moment was pretty amazing. And playing in the finals. Rhett, I think you played 3 game sevens, didn't you? 3 game sevens or 6?
In the finals?
Yeah, didn't you go to 3 finals? Calgary.
3 finals, not game sevens though. We
Sorry,
had smoked
game 6,
Florida.
game 7.
Yeah, Florida, we didn't make it out of. We didn't win a game.
Oh, okay, so 3 finals. But no, you know what? I think just playing in the finals and that whole experience, we were such a young group, and you know, everything we've talked about, just a hard-working group that was really tight. That year was. It's hard to say something was more memorable than that.
Ronnie?
probably scoring on Dom in practice.
and then trying to get off the ice before he tackled you.
Yeah. Or he made you stay out there for an extra hour afterwards shooting on him until he was happy.
I think
He was
Brownies
so
was
stubborn.
Brownies is probably going to chefs. That's what I would think.
There, yeah. If you're talking about, there's a lot of good things about the food in Buffalo.
Right?
You know, it's so hard. The guys hit it, you know, to experience what we experienced as a group was so much fun. I don't know if I can pick one moment because they all are linked together. And you can go back to, I remember the first series, Donnie, this is probably put 5 years on all of us. That first game against Ottawa, we got outshot by 300 shots and somehow won. And then we end up sweeping those guys. Like, that was a pretty good feeling too.
We didn't leave our end that whole game.
Yashin, it looked like Yashin, like he had the puck the whole time.
We scored early in the first period. Beck scored. I remember because I got my one assist of this whole playoffs. I dumped it in and we scored early in the first, and then we just hunkered in for the rest of the night. So that's good enough.
Yeah.
Rhett always liked to get his points early in the game.
Yeah.
Johnny, what about you? You coach, you played. Like, what's your favorite memory as a Sabre?
I think it was the year before we were playing Philly in the playoffs, and Dom always had this routine where we had to take shots from one end to the other. Everybody take a shot, and no one would ever score on him. And this day, the last guy to shoot was Razor, and he scored on Dom. And of course, if you scored on him, you had to do it again. But Razor ran right off the ice. Dom chased him right back into the dressing room, made him come all the way back out. The guys had to do this shoot again. So that was it. Just any game that Dom played was just, just you held your breath and just go, wow, this guy was something else.
You know,
That's why I remember Razor. You
Just
yelled
remember
at
that,
the
Razor?
guys one time. I think it was like my first year, maybe training camp, and the guys are like splitting from one to the ice to the other, and you said, Guys, if you want to work on your confidence, go down Marty's end. You're going to build confidence that way.
I had
He'd
good
get
luck
upset
scoring
if
on
the guys
Dom
did
in
it one
practice,
time
but
and
it
hard.
never transpired into the games. I don't know what happened.
Sometimes the truth hurts, Marty. Yeah.
You know what? It does, but I gave
Marty,
it to
look what
Razor
I
a
turned
couple
you
of
into.
times. I
Look
remember.
what I turned you into.
Yeah, but Razor, I remember a game in Pittsburgh where you started giving it to me. You wanted to make fun of me because my first ever game was in Pittsburgh, and you said, "Oh, Marty, remember your first game here? Whoa, shot is in, shot is in, shot is in." Like they scored what, 12 on you? So I said something to the effect that, well, you'll get a good look at the game because you'll be watching it from the press box. And you threatened to cut my suit into pieces. Well, sure enough, 10 minutes into the game, I got pulled. And the first thing I did is I went back to the locker room and I checked my suit to make sure it was.
Oh, Marty, you brought us some good times. I'll tell you that. I remember the night in Montreal when you were sitting on the end of the bench doing an interview.
Yeah.
We're all sitting down there going, who is this kid? And he's doing an interview on the end of the bench while the game's going on.
That was Teddy Nolan. He said, yeah, don't worry about it. Like, he's not going to play anyway. Just do an interview. 5 minutes later, I was replacing John Blue.
But that happened a lot.
Anyway.
Hey, Cheese, there was a clip in Game 5. Forget what leaf was coming down the wall, and you absolutely flattened them. I talk about our defense. Jay and Rhett did such a good job of shutdown. Z and Smelly did such a great job of shutdown. I don't think, they're a big reason why we get to where we get to. I know Dom was Dom, but, and Jeep, of course, my partner at the time, I thought our D-core as a group were as solid as it came. Everybody brought something different to the table, and it was a fun group to be part of. We just had so much respect for each other.
It was a good mix. You know what I mean? Like everyone was very different, but it was a good mix of guys. I think Schmelly was very underrated. The fans weren't always big fans of his, but I think we all loved him as a person and as a player. I think we respected what he brought. Z was Z, couldn't keep a shot down, but he did everything else right. Rhett and I had a good chemistry together, and you and G had a great chemistry, and the power play was solid. Didn't matter who we put out there, it was solid. And Rhett and I couldn't make a D-to-D pass, but Dom was there to save us. And, we just go off the glass and out and let Brownie and those guys chase it down.
So you guys wore the black and red and white and the goat head. And I mean, a few years later, they went back to the original Sabres logo. I feel a little nostalgic because we're watching such great hockey with the 99 playoffs the last 2 weeks. Did you guys love that goat head logo, or do you love the original logo better?
Wants it.
I like the original better.
I liked wearing it. For me, I was, that was I wore the old jersey. I had one game in the odds, so I wore the old jersey, but I liked it. It was what we knew, for, Brownie, myself, when Rhett came in, Wolves Razors worn probably 12 different jerseys the Sabres had. He was there for so long, but I liked it. But I mean, the 50th anniversary jersey is insane. It's unbelievable. That jersey, they did a great job with that. I like the goat head, but I like the classic Sabres logo personally.
Well said, Cheese. I agree. Like, I was drafted in the original. I played my first game in the original. There was a big change because we went over to the new arena. And in those days, I think the hype was change the logo, change the colors, sell more jerseys, market the brand. And then now it's gone the other way, where vintage is the cool way to go. So I like the original. I like the original Hartford. I wish Carolina would get rid of that deal. I like the original out of most. Even look at Vancouver. How cool is that old one when they go retro? Like,
I agree.
Yeah, the one Leaves was in.
Then he left.
Right.
Us.
He just left.
He went to get. Did they have VHS when he played?
Probably had.
Oh, he's back.
Steve. Okay, good.
I got a question here. Why do they review every goal, every close goal here? And I think the only goal they didn't review is the one that cost us.
Oh my God.
I'm watching this
Seriously.
game, and every close call, they're going to the box, they're reviewing, they're looking at every goal, and the only one they really needed to was Wolves just scored there. They'll look
Way to
at
go,
that. It was
Wolves.
a beautiful goal. Brownie right there on top of him. And Dom laying on the ice saying, thank God it's over.
Yeah.
I think I went to the corner. I'm not watching, but I went wide with the puck, and I think Hatcher was coming to kill me. And I saw the old hybrid, the offensive defenseman, before his time sneaking in. But did I
It was
remember right?
it was a dump. I think it was a dump in. Pex is on the forecheck. He kind of throws up. Yeah, Hatch goes up the wall. Brownie, you read it perfectly. I got to tell you though, man, like I still say this. I don't know how you saw me. I mean, you know, I did a lot of that, but you didn't hesitate 1 second. You turned and zipped it right at me. And
Yeah,
if it
but
didn't happen,
when he gets it on the wall, he's got his head up the whole time. He gets
Yeah.
control, bang, his head's up right there, and he's able to see you coming in, and the lane was there.
yeah,
Nice play.
it was a
Did
great
that
play.
deflect? Did that deflect off the defenseman's stick? Like I've seen it 100 times, right? Did that chip off the defenseman's stick a little bit?
No, I don't think so. I think
I
that
went
just
straight
goes
in.
5-0.
Wills? Straight
Yep.
in 5-0.
Yeah, I didn't mess around. Great play by Marumi. Hey, great play by Marumi though.
What was
That
the
was an awesome
call?
play.
What was the
We
call? The shot heard around the world?
Actually, the night before, we worked on that when everyone went to bed.
We did in the hallway, down in the
Yeah.
lobby.
The mini
You and Grasshopper.
Yeah.
Hey, Wolves, were you surprised, Wolves, that you're the highest scoring Sabres defenseman in playoff history?
No, I'm that good.
We just wanted that on the
I love
record.
it.
Thank you for clarifying.
No, well, you asked Marty today,
Yeah.
and Marty thought it was Z. I had already known that, so it didn't count. But you know, listen, I mean, I don't know. Like you guys are talking about the jerseys. I don't think I ever wore the original jersey.
No.
I didn't wear the
No.
original jersey, so I came in a little later. But no, listen, I mean, at some point, I'm assuming someone's going to break it sooner or later, but it's quite an honor, obviously. It was just
Wolves,
listen.
in order for them to beat that record, they got to get to the playoffs. So
Oh, that's why I think I'm safe for a little bit, just for a little bit.
no,
They'll get
and
They'll
that's the
get
truth.
there.
Hey,
Thank you, Mr. Pagula.
now,
They'll
You know
get
what?
there.
Wolves, we had some long runs, and people forget, like, it's not easy to go on some of those long runs. And then a power play guy like that, well, so it's not going to be easy to beat. You can get to the playoffs, which is the first step, and then it's longevity in the playoffs. And a lot of guys don't, you know, what we did there for a couple of years, I think during the time we probably took for granted, but look at the long runs we had. I think
Yeah.
that's important to remember.
Did we have like, I don't even remember, but did we have like a ton of power play like opportunities? It seemed like it. I thought,
In this game or this series or?
no, just
in the
the
playoffs, yeah,
whole,
we
the
did.
whole
In the
99
playoffs?
run. Yeah.
No, it wasn't a
Our
stat. Like
power
it
play
wasn't.
was good till the final.
You were taking more than you were getting. As far as you were taking more penalties than
Right,
the
right.
other way around. But your percentage obviously it quiets here in the last few games. Obviously, it's super low scoring series against Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At one point, you were leading the playoffs around 26%. I think you ended up back at about 20, which is still pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I just think our net front presence was excellent too. Like we had guys, V, Pucks, Brown, like guys who just go to the net and Preems. And we didn't have a lot of perimeter scoring. That's not how we were made.
Yeah.
It was gonna get pucks to the net and crash and bang.
Well, I think it was amazing what you said earlier, that it was so interchangeable. And I as we've watched so much of this run, it is really incredible. You just don't see that number, a team put that many different guys on the power play and have success. Sometimes it's out of necessity, obviously, and Miro was out for a while. We get that, but it was so much fun to watch. And we're just about out of time, but guys, a last word from all of you, if you could, on the run of 99 and what it meant, and then we'll bid you good night. Jay?
Thank you to our fans. I mean, good seeing the guys again. Our teammates were awesome, but one of the biggest memories we'll all have is the fans parked out front, tailgating like they would for a Bills game. We heard them throughout the dressing room, through the games. The fans were awesome. It's a great sports town, and thank you, fans, for all the support.
Don?
As a coach, it was just a great feeling just to see a team come together. That was the greatest thing. And, the build up, and unfortunately didn't go the way we went. But the other thing is just I smoked too many cigars.
It sounds like you've had 10 today.
Before every game, we had this thing. We had to go have a big dinner and smoke cigars. And I smoked a lot of cigars that year. That was pretty enjoyable.
Curtis?
Well, I just think if you look at, this is a small collection of the guys, and that was the real, value of this team is we were interchangeable. Nobody thought they were bigger than the team. And I think that's why we had the success. And ultimately the fans were a big part of it. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about the Buffalo fans. They were very educated. They got behind us. And it was really, somebody said earlier how the coaches, the players, the fans, everybody involved had such a big impact on this. And believe me, when you get to accomplish some of the things that we got to accomplish as a group, you're there for each and every one of these guys anytime they need us. And that was a special part of this group, is it was a little bit old school, and that's the way we liked it.
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I love the fans. The fans of Buffalo are amazing. Still are amazing every time we go back there for events. It's they make us really feel special. My teammates, I freaking love these guys. Listen, we accomplished more than we ever thought we would. We came up a little bit short, but we left it all out there. The coaches did a great job. The players did a great job. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. So I thank the Sabres for doing this, because I've really had a lot of fun in this journey here through social media.
Well, I think we were a blue collar group, and it was a blue collar town, and we wanted to be a part of that fabric of that city. And I think we all took a level of pride in being that type of team and that type of in that city. So obviously everyone loved each other. The guys got along so well. We were a good, tight group. But I think just as importantly, we felt that connection with the city and with the fans. And I think as much as we wanted to do it for each other, we wanted to do it for the city. So you look back on it, it gives me goosebumps to talk about. You've got such fond memories of it, and then it didn't turn out at the end. But I wish that we could have done it for the city too. It would have been it's still important to me for that city to see a championship.
Razor?
Yeah, I think that, when it was all said and done as a group, we kind of not happy with the accomplishment, but we think we accomplished something. But because you didn't win, you didn't have that feeling. And I think that the day or two after, when we were done, and we went to that Niagara Square, you remember when we had the big rally over there, and there was like tens of thousands of people there, and how excited they were and the cheering on, it kind of solidified that, hey, yeah, we did fail by not winning. But I think what we were able to bring to the people and them showing us in that day how they appreciated what we did, I think that was just like winning. And I think that it was something that I can still see that day standing up there on that stage and all those people out there. And none of us would have ever expected a quarter of what showed up for that. Then it was something that, hey, we really touched a lot of people. We really changed maybe the outlook of, our team at that time to what people thought. And I just really think that was kind of something that was a feather in the cap.
Well, the world has changed an awful lot right now, and we're so thankful through technology to be able to pull this group together to relive as part of the 50th anniversary, just an incredibly memorable time. Dan, Marty, maybe a last one from you guys and just where we're at as we relive all of this and the memories we've been able to lift from this 50th anniversary season.
Well, I'm going to jump in and just say, for me, just sitting back, and I think really being one of those people I was not in the city of Buffalo at that time, growing up in Southern Ontario. I certainly followed the team. I was at the rink for the Stanley Cup Finals, covering it as a reporter before many years elapsed, and I joined the team now on the broadcast side, Brian. But like you, I just like sitting back and listening to the stories and hearing these guys interact with one another, because I've had the fortune of being around teams that go on to win championships at different levels and being around them pretty closely. And the one very common thread, and Razor talks about it all the time when we go out to dinner on the road, and I've heard Jason and Rhett and Jay and Doc Brown and Coach talk about it, is just how tight knit the group is. And it's something that's hard to explain when you're around it. It just happens. And it's a bunch of different personalities that find a way to get on each other, hold each other accountable. And then all of a sudden they find out that they've got something and they don't want to change a thing. They want to stay true to who they are. I think that's something that was brought up in this conversation. This is who we were all season long, and particularly in the playoffs. So I want to thank the guys for their descriptions on the relationships they had amongst themselves and how that transferred into something great on the ice.
Marty?
And for me is you guys set the bar really high. Listen, I was a Black Ace in '98 when you guys went to the conference finals against Washington. I was in Rochester for most of the '99 run, but I came up at the very end again as a Black Ace, and it really showed me what it takes to be successful in the playoffs, the way you guys carried yourself, the way you interacted with the fans, the way you were as a team on the road. So it gave me an example of what it needed to be. And I tried to follow that through in my career in Buffalo, Philly with the Rangers. So you guys set that baseline for me. And I have to say thank you for that. And yeah, listening to the stories, it brings me back. And when I was a lot thinner and much younger, and it's great.
Well, I'll speak on behalf of those that have, requested through this difficult time the games that they wanted to see. And there was such an emphasis from so much of our fan base to relive 1999. And we've been able to do that of late. And obviously it culminates this week with the Stanley Cup final against Dallas. So from all of the fans, thank you guys, all of you, for joining us here on this watch party night that was capped by Jason's game winner in overtime in game one. Stay safe, everyone. We'll see you soon.